Fadda.
Let's go.
Very special cups you're drinking out of.
Yeah.
It's not an average one. Both are handmade. تشرب حمزة؟
Last time
لا
I drank,
تشربوا. طيب.
last time I drank from this was from a Chinese student, master student.
طيب. ما شاء الله. اللهم بارك. اللهم بارك. The student outdoes the what? طيب تفضل. اقرأ. خذوا. تفضل. You know what country it's from?
Thailand.
No. Horrible guess.
Or
Extremely.
This shows MF London, UK. How do we reconcile narrations of the Salaf harshly boycotting Ahlul Bid'ah, including even ayat of the Quran, with narrations of the Salaf taking knowledge from them?
طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Questions from London, UK. How do we reconcile between the narrations of the Salaf that dealt very harshly with people of innovations, boycotting them, avoiding them, even ayats from the Quran versus narrations in which he said they what? Took from them?
Yeah.
Tight. In brief, because we don't have a lot of time and we don't want to spend too much time on the questions tonight, I would advise you to go back to the lecture that we did on the Stop the Fitna conference last summer and the IMFC. We explained some of this. And there are other lectures in which we explained this as well. What I would give you tonight in brief is, number one, first principle is the difference at-tafriq بين التنظير وبين التطبيق. Is that you as a student of knowledge and also as a layman Muslim, you must understand that there is theory and then there is practice. Sometimes they are parallel and other times they are contrast. Number two is that you have to understand the difference between a sole narration or a single narration versus consensus in any mas'ala. نقطة ثالثة. Point number three is that you have to understand that the Salaf were many people. It wasn't just 5 Salaf or 10 Salaf or 100 Salaf. There were many of them and they lived in different cities and at different takhassusat. Okay? One person says, I won't take nisf kalima, a half a word from him. That doesn't mean that that's what the next tabi'i said and did. You understand this? Last but not least is the difference between a tafriq بين الداعية والرأس وبين التابع والمقلد. As a person who's a caller, a person who's a head of a sect versus one who's a follower practicing bid'ah. من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد من عمل عملا ليس عليه أمرنا فهو رد. One who introduces the innovation versus the one who practices it. We have, as students of knowledge, we have to be precise and we have to understand there's a difference. And the Salaf, many of them, they made a difference. And the ulama of Hadith, they will make a difference between the da'iyah and someone who's a tabi'. Okay? And there are other points as well. There are what? هناك نقاط أخرى as well. Al-Muhim is that this is nothing more than a manifestation of much of the confusion that has been spread in the West by amateuristic martial artists. Amateuristic martial artists. People that have never trained using a bamboo practice sword and they go swinging a katana. Causes chaos. Okay? People not studying overseas properly. People only been taught half of a thing or being taught by a sheikh or a scholar that has an agenda or whatever the case may be and spreading it in the West. That's why we have this confusion. And the only solution is to go back to the original organic source. Wallahu alam. That's in brief. As you said, what? هذا باختصار.
It shows NH Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum. I need a clarification on a question I asked. So even though I'm praying at home after wudu, I have to make sure I wear a sock to pray. I don't have long dresses enough that would cover my toes. If I forget, and I've forgotten 2 times already, subhanAllah, do I need to exit the prayer and put socks on?
Where's the question from?
Toronto, Canada.
Question is from Toronto with regards to a woman covering her feet in the Salah. She has socks, it says, but she doesn't have a longer garment or long enough garment. What happens if she forgets, etc.? Alhamdulillah, my visits to Toronto, I found most of the Muslims affluent. The Muslims not in see any starving poor Muslims. Buy a garment that's long enough for you to pray in, inshallah. Very simple. Go to your local Islamic store, your local masjid, and buy a longer garment that covers your feet. And if you don't have one that covers your feet, then at least wear socks. But you should have something that's loose over top of your feet. If you forget and you remember later on, then that's a different scenario. Some of the conditions of the salah, if you forget, your prayer is invalid, and others, the prayer would still be valid. And this is one of the reasons why some of the scholars say that certain things are not conditions of the salah, but they are obligations of the salah. Such as taharatul badan min al-najas. Okay, your body being physically clean. They say it's mandatory. It's mandatory, but not necessarily a shart. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ took off his sandals and then finished his prayer. If it was a condition for the salat, then the prayer would have been started from the beginning. And the same applies to other things such as covering the awrah. Covering the awrah being wajib, being fard, no doubt about that. خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِد. But is it a shart min shurut al-salah? And if it is, ما الدليل من كتاب السنة على هذا? The دليل الصريح that proves that اشتراط ستر العورة في الصلاة. وجوب لا ليس محل إشكال. So no one حتى لا يعترض أحد يقول are you saying I can pray naked? لا. It being mandatory is one thing. It being a shart هذا يفتقر إلى دليل شرعي آخر. Okay? والله أعلم.
Initials RA, Richmond, California. What's the ruling on Salah al-Istikhara? So we make the dua while in Salah or once we are done? I love you for the sake of Allah. Allah bless you with the wife.
طيب. Questions from Richmond, California. What is the ruling on making Salat al-Istikhara? How was it done in the Salah, outside of the Salah, etc. May Allah bless you with another wife. Say Ameen. طيب. Jazakallah khairan. And also he said that he loves us for Allah's sake. أحبك الذي أحببتنا فيه. Ameen. May Allah give us what is good and what we need in this life and in hereafter. Ameen. That's what we'll say. طيب. Inshallah ta'ala. The Salat al-Istikhara is something that should be done. Okay, the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم, he says إذا هم أحدكم بالأمر فليركع ركعتين من دون الفريضة أو كما قال. He commanded us to make istikhara. So the istikhara is either going to be highly recommended or wajib. And obviously the 5 prayers in the daytime, خمس صلوات كتبهن الله خمس صلوات في اليوم والليلة كتبهن الله من حافظ عليها. The ulama, they differ on, are there prayers mandatory besides the 5 daily prayers, such as Tahiyatul Masjid, such as the Janazah, such as other things. Al-Muhim is either obligatory if you need it, إِذَا هَمَّ أَحْدُكُمْ, when you're stressed and worried about a thing, or at least it's going to be highly recommended to make. Point number 1 in brief. Point number 2 is that there are different styles of making Salatul Istikhara. You can make it in the tashahhud before you salam out, or after the tashahhud after you've salamed out. Okay? And it shouldn't be in the faridah. It should be voluntary prayer. Nafila, as the narration states. Khairan inshallah. Wallahu alam.
Initials KA, Manchester, UK. Available Allah. Why oolong tea?
Manchester, UK. Why oolong tea? Tayyib. May Allah bless you. Hafidhakallah as well. I like oolong tea. I just like the taste of it. I like the fact that it's obviously different types of oolong. It's not just one oolong type. Tea guanyin being my favorite. I feel it's smooth. You don't need no sugar, no milk, no lemon, nothing like that. It's simple, it's easy, it's tasty. It's good for your digestive system, helps you focus and concentrate. I like it. There are other types, there are different variations, different styles of tea from China. It's one of my personal favorites, if not my personal favorite. If you haven't had it yet, perhaps if you have it and it's prepared properly, you'll fall in love with it, inshallah ta'ala, as well. And maybe one day, and Allah knows best, maybe the next time we come to the UK, perhaps, wallahu alam, maybe we can do a tea ceremony for the brothers and prepare you some real good oolong tea and not the stuff in the market or the commercial rubbish. No names. We don't want to make tabdeer on Lipton, ya akhi. Al-Muhim, perhaps if you have the good oolong, you'll what? You'll fall in love with it, perhaps. So maybe when we get there, next trip, inshallah, I would love to make you some. On the spot, some fresh and some real stuff. Not saying that I'm the tea master, but alhamdulillah, I've learned a few a few things. I will say that I am an ardent student of tea. Definitely not a tea master, but I've learned a few things. And one of the greatest things that I've learned from my teachers in tea is never settle for rubbish. When you want real tea, don't go to the tourist attractions. Wallahu alam. Obviously, the same applies to ilm. Wallahu alam.
Initials OS Country Club Hills, Illinois. When I tell my non-Muslim mom I can't do certain haram things, when she asks me to, she and her Muslim friends say that the Quran only says don't obey parents and shirk, and Islam says to obey parents. What should I do?
Tight. Repeat the location of the question, please, one more time.
Country Club Hills, Illinois.
Country Club Hills, Illinois. And by the way, FYI, as they say, the flavor tonight is black oolong. Hopefully you guys can taste the difference. Black oolong is, in my humble opinion, a very nice and special variation of plain oolong, quote unquote. Black oolong is very good. If you get your hands on some good black oolong, you'll enjoy it. Wallahu alam. Tayyib. Say the question one more time. Country Club? What do you say?
Country Club Hills, Illinois.
Country Club Hills, Illinois. Tayyib.
When I tell my non-Muslim mom...
Tayyib, clear. Questions from Country Club Hills, Illinois. With regards to when I tell my non-Muslim mother that there are certain things that I cannot do as a Muslim, they say, or she says, the Quran only forbids you from obeying your parents in shirk. فَلَا تُطِعْهُمَا. Do not obey them. Okay? And it doesn't prohibit you from obeying your mother and your father and other things which are haram, etc. What should you do? Make dua for your parents that aren't Muslim. Pray for their souls. Ask Allah to guide them and to expand their hearts and open their eyes and their ears. Give them charity. Give them gifts. Be kind to them. And try your best to be the best son and daughter that you can possibly can. Bi-idhnillah. Try your best. Okay? Try to lead by example. And try to explain to them that just because you learn one fact or one piece of information, it doesn't mean that we know all facts and all pieces of information. There are many verses in the Quran that I don't know about as a Muslim, nor do you as a non-Muslim. And there are many interpretations of the Quran that I, as a layman Muslim, don't know about, nor do you, mother. So therefore, we shouldn't say what we think and feel without having all of the knowledge. Try to explain so with gentleness. And the Quran forbids us to obey anyone besides Allah and His Messenger. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolute obedience is for Allah. Absolute obedience is for the Messenger of Allah. Obedience to a scholar, to a ruler, to your mother, to your husband, to your wife, whoever else you're obeying, is always conditional. And that condition is that it's bil ma'ruf. It has to be a good thing that they're trying to ask you to do. So anything which is impermissible cannot be done. And this is in the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u Rasul wa ulil amri minkum. فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. Allah says, oh, you believe, obey Allah. And obey the messenger, comma, wa uli. And it doesn't say wa ati'u a third time. There are three classes and only two verbs mentioned. Allah, His messenger, and authority. How many is that? That's three different sections or three different divisions of obedience. And the word obedience has only been mentioned twice. Proving that the first two sections, the obedience is what? Absolute. And the third is obedience which is conditional. And that it is a good thing that the leader or the ruler or your wife or your husband is telling you to do. Everyone understand this? So that is in the Quran. And Allah knows best. MashaAllah. Rain. Serious. Subhanallah.
Initials MM, Ottawa, Canada. How do you convince your family to let you seek knowledge as opposed to working?
The question is from Toronto?
Ottawa.
Ottawa. How do you convince your family to let you seek knowledge as opposed to working? Well, you don't always have the ability to convince your family. Sometimes you can't convince them. Sometimes they won't listen. They won't agree. It's not a condition that they're going to be convinced. You can try. You can try. But if you really want to seek knowledge, sometimes you may have to disobey your parents. And sometimes you may have to go against your family and become the black sheep. And they'll say, I want to make dua against you. You're not obeying your mother. Al-Jannah tahta aqdam al-ummahat. And they use this hadith and this verse and this. Sometimes you may have to just do it if you truly want to seek knowledge. Okay? Sheikh Mubin rahimahullah ta'ala, there's a tape I was listening to of his some years ago, and he was talking about his parents. And he was talking about Yemen. And he was talking about how he wasn't seeking knowledge at first, and then he began to seek knowledge. And he was asked a question about a parent who says, I want to make dua against you if you don't listen to me. If you don't work and save money and give me your money, I want to pray against you. And the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that inshallah the dua, it will not count against you. And he said, وَلَوْ أَطَعْنَا آبَاءَنَا الْجَاهِلِينَ لَمَا طَلَبْنَا الْإِلْمِ. He said his exact words, if my memory serves me correctly, and if we obeyed our ignorant fathers and mothers, we wouldn't have sought knowledge. So just look at all of the khair, all of the ilm that came from Shaykh Mubin rahimahullah, his books, his students. Imagine if he would have listened to his parents and been a worker or a merchant. So sometimes you have to go against the grain. And a lot of times you can't convince. You can try to speak to them. You can try to tell them, إِذَا مَاتَ الْإِنسَانُ إِنَّ قَطَعَ عَمَلُهُ إِلَّا مِنْ ثَلَاثَ, this verse, this hadith. You can get the sheikh to speak to them. But مَنْ يُضْلِلِ اللَّهُ, whoever Allah misleads, what? No one can guide. So you can try your best, but the most important part of the answer is, if you really want to seek knowledge and you're serious about it, you're going to have to go against the grain. And wallahi, the struggles that you go through, the sacrifice, them talking about you, cutting you off, not giving you money, it's worth it. Wallahi. When you come back to Ottawa, you memorize the Quran, you study Bukhari, you learn the Arabic language, it's worth it. And Allah knows best. Perhaps when you're on the minbar, or perhaps if you're teaching a class, and perhaps they see you being righteous and knowledgeable, and people talking about their son, maybe they'll find pride in you, even if they didn't support you from day one. Wallahu alam.
Mission AB, Tangier, Morocco. When one is in a situation where the place he's in is really crowded with the opposite gender and can't even look at the ground, where does he look and is he sinning? Sometimes even touching them not on purpose. For example, climbing up the stairs of the yeshiva.
Question is from Tangier, Morocco. A person is in a place in which there's so many people, men and women. Looking down won't help you. You may even touch them by accident. What can you do, etc.? Are you sinful? فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. إِذَا نَهَيْتُكُمْ عَنْ شَيْءٍ فَاجْتَنِبُوهُ وَإِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Do what you can. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ الْمُفْسِدَ مِنَ الْمُصْلِحِ وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ لَأَعْنَتَكُمْ. Allah knows the troublemaker from the peacemaker. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. These are based off of intentions. So there's nowhere to look. You gotta look where you're going. You have to look at the lady for an interview or a police officer. فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. Make istighfar, turn away afterwards, and keep it moving. And one of the most important pieces of advice with regards to a free mixed gathering or souk or marketplace or wherever you're going is having an agenda. Having an agenda. I'm going in here to get my passport stamped. I know it's a lady behind the counter. She's going to say hello to me. She's going to say, look at the camera, put your fingerprint here, blah, 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 and then I leave. You have to have an agenda. You have to know what you want, point A to point B, and that's it, khalas. If you took a second look, if you slipped up, if you were lustful, if she was beautiful, whatever, istaghfir rabbak, seek Allah's forgiveness, and do good deeds. And then hasanati yudhibna sayyat. ذَلِكَ ذِكْرَى لِلذَّاكِرِينَ. Alright, try your best, and don't get caught up thinking that you're going to go to hell for making a mistake or doing something that you didn't have an option or it was just beyond your control. Beware of shaitan and his whispers. Beware of the waswasa of the shaitan. Wallahu alam.
Anwar Ali, London, UK. Is there a difference between my sisters being inappropriately dressed and having wives and daughters in the problem?
Question is from London, from our brother Anwar Ali. May Allah bless you. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Is there a difference between my sister being inappropriately dressed and my wife and my daughter? Yes and no. From one aspect, if a woman is of age, she has to be dressed properly and appropriately, no matter what. But from another aspect, your wife is directly under your control, under your wilaya. Your daughter is directly under your guardianship. So for them to be dressed inappropriately, You to say something to your sister and not to them, or to, as we say, grind up your sister and not your wife and your daughter, that's some problem. You don't have control over your sister. You're not her direct guardian. Your wife and your daughter, you are. If your sister is grown, but your wife and your child, you're responsible for them, their hijab. All right. At the end of the day, try your best to advise them, and inshallah ta'ala lead by example. You wear a thobe and a kufi, you grow your beard, you trim your mustache, you don't flirt with women, you lower your gaze, and give them nasiha, give them advice, make dua for them, take them to classes, let them be around the other hijabi sisters, and perhaps Allah will open up their hearts. Wallahu alam.
Initials MM, Ontario, Canada. Why do you think divorce is so prominent in the Muslim community?
Questions from Toronto. Why do you think divorce is so prominent among the Muslim community? Ontario. Toronto, Ontario? Sorry, no, sorry. Questions from Toronto, Ontario. Why is divorce so widespread in the Muslim community? I think divorce is widespread in the world, Muslim and non-Muslim alike. Muslim and non-Muslim alike. I mean, the times in which we live are very different. One of the reasons why your grandparents stayed together for such a long time, the world was different then. And one of the things that makes the world different is that everything is convenient and is easy now. But 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, your father needed your mother. And your mother needed your father. There was no DoorDash or GoPuff or Uber Eats. There was no YouTube tutorial for cooking this and making this. Your father needed your mother to cook for him. He needed her food. And your mother needed your father to pay the bills. There was no this app and Cash App and do this from home. Survival was basic. And that's why this is only one reason why marriages lasted so long. And some of the scholars of Islam, they say from the wisdom of a man being the provider and a woman being obedient to her husband, the process, the cycle, is that for each of the two to need each other more. The more you need your partner, the less divorce there will be. Because the first thing that the woman says is what? I don't what? Peace. I got my car, I got my GPS, I have this app, I have that. I don't need you. It's a job, it's this. And the husband says the what? Same thing. Okay. Oh, you don't want to cook for me? No problem. I'll find some other food. I'll download an app to cook me food tonight. I'm sure they have one. You never know, huh? How many you want? Sushi, pizza, this, that, whatever you want. Within what? Minutes. Half an hour. Well, please. It's not half an hour anymore. 10 minutes. 15 minutes, if that. You see what I'm saying to you? So this is my humble opinion. One of the reasons why divorce is so high is because the world has changed. And people don't need each other, what? As much. Another, and Allahu Alam, I feel another reason behind divorce being so widespread is pornography. Internet pornography. No doubt about that. Pornography is as old as Allahu Alam. There's always been prostitution. There's always been indecent and illicit things. The ulama have explained these things. Ibn Qayyim talks about as-suwar al-muharrama, ishq as-suwar. Hundreds of years ago Ibn Qayyim lived. But it wasn't like how it is now. And which is everywhere. On the phone, on your tablet, everywhere you look, they're calling you to zina, to fahisha, to sex. Everywhere you look, there's an effect. So men look at haram things, women look at haram things, men can't do this, women can't do that, this is too boring, too dry, and there's divorce. It's a reality. And there are other reasons as well. Wallahu alam.
Which is AYC. Is it permissible to do business in the field of marine insurance or any insurance?
In the field of what?
Marine insurance or any insurance. Clients are insurance.
Question is from Singapore. With regards to doing or having a job in the field of insurance, marine insurance or any type of insurance. As we have explained before, if a Muslim does not have to work for insurance or insurance company, he or she should not do so. Period. Don't do it. Okay? Insurance has many haram things, and there are many permissible things about insurance. Sometimes insurance is a necessity. Sometimes it's durura, it's a need. Sometimes. But if you don't have to deal with it, don't deal with it. That's the best advice that I can give you. If you have another profession, another job, that's the best thing to do. Wallahu alam.
AF Columbus, Ohio. Is the Mawlid haram?
Question from Columbus, Ohio. Is the Mawlid haram? Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu love the Prophet ﷺ more than we can ever love him. And he never celebrated the Prophet ﷺ's birthday. Period. Should not be done. There's no question about that. Mawlid is bid'ah. It's an innovation. And all innovation is misguidance. Wallahu alam.
Issues KA Manchester UK. Can you explain Imam Muslim's statement to his teacher al-Qari, يعني أقبل برجليك?
وقبل. طيب. Questions from where?
Manchester UK.
From Manchester. Can you explain the statement of Imam Muslim to Imam al-Bukhari? Let me kiss your feet. وقبل رجليك. يا أستاذ الحديث وطبيب علله. This is a hikayah and a qissa that's been mentioned with regards to the hadith of kafaratul majlis. Okay? من جلس مجلسا فكثر فيه لغته فقال قبل أن يقول إلى آخره. And then Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah اكتشف علته. He discovered that this hadith was ma'lul. It was defective even though it appeared to be authentic. And it was something that perhaps it was troublesome and burdensome and bothersome, and Bukhari's genius picked up on it immediately. And Imam Muslim is quoted to have said, "Oh, doctor of hadith, oh, master of hadith, let me kiss your feet. Let me show you some respect." What's meant by this hadith or this narration is the severe respect and veneration that Imam Muslim had for his Sheikh Imam al-Bukhari. And Imam Muslim was a scholar in his own right. He was an imam of hadith. But he realized that he was outgunned and outclassed. Not like us. Somebody's better than us and we have hasad and envy. Someone is better than us, we don't want to give them their due credit and respect. Imam Muslim knew that he was better than him and that he had an extremely rare gift, a talent that was just from Allah, period. And he was very hardworking. And he wanted to manifest his humbleness and his respect by kissing Bukhari's feet. Is that permissible? Is the sunnah to do that? We didn't say that. It's not the Prophet speaking. It's not Abu Bakr with the messenger. It's not the Sahaba. It's not the Tabi. It's two Imams of Hadith. Wallahu alam.
Issues SH from London, UK. What is the ruling on shouting Allahu Akbar?
Questions from where?
London, UK.
London, UK. The rule on shouting Allahu Akbar. Please go back to Mufti Q&A. We've answered that question in detail about saying Allahu Akbar. We've explained that it is permissible. And there are hadiths that support that. Allahu Akbar. خربت خيبر إنا إذا نزلنا بساحة قوم فالساعة صباح المنذرين. The Messenger of Allah says, Allahu Akbar, إنها السنن. Hadith كثيرة جدا. He called out and he said, Allahu Akbar, for something that took place or happened. We explained to Mufti Q&A that the problem or the problematic issue with this, according to some, is for people to say takbir. Saying takbir. Instead of a person just saying, Allahu Akbar, and then everyone else says what? Allahu Akbar behind him. We said that this could be the nuqtatul ishkal. That could be the problematic issue with people saying takbir, Allahu Akbar, takbir, Allahu Akbar. We explained that before. I think it was 2 years ago. Wallahu alam. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam wa barak ala abdihi wa rasulihi nabiyina wa imamina Muhammad.